Hello, and welcome to another episode of Computing with Kyle. Today we'll be discussing ransomware and some of the recent events. Ransomware is a type of malware that can and does have devastating impact on users and businesses. This kind of malware is identified as software that runs to encrypt your data but not break your computer or its functionality. Many of them exclude the Windows folder, program files, exe, DLL, sys, and link files in an attempt to prevent breaking the system. This is important because if the computer is unusable, the user can't pay the ransom. Even ransomware like the Ryuk software has started excluding the Linux file system. This is due to the Windows subsystem for Linux. As ransomware is developed, criminals behind it have expanded their potential targets to other accessible devices on the network through traditional shares and other permissions, making running as an administrator even more dangerous. Ransomware can be hard to fight. It cannot be protected against by simply encrypting your files. Even an encrypted file can be encrypted again. Many of the ways that you might think as ways to protect yourself from ransomware are also being overcome. Attackers are targeting shadow copies, backups, and restoration partitions as well through their software. If users can restore their files through any of these methods, there's no reason to pay the ransom. As dire as it sounds, it is not inevitable, and you do not have to give in to the threats for your data. But more on that later. Ransomware developers are continually trying to figure out how to make their software better for them. Targeting individuals is easier, since most users do not protect their systems and data well. But the users are less likely to pay the ransom for their files. Many users have their information in the cloud or can live without it. There are users who will pay for photos or other emotionally significant data on their systems, but they will not pay as much as companies. Data used by the companies generate revenue, making loss of this data worth so much more. Companies are willing to pay more based on their loss appetite. The loss appetite is how much data a company is willing to lose, and this depends on the business and their management. Most companies have some sort of offline storage for files and important documents, and are able to recover to a relatively recent period in time. If the offline storage is able to be restored to an acceptable loss of data, the company will not pay, but will simply accept the loss. If not, they'll consider to pay the ransom if the potential profit loss is more. To overcome this, ransomware is being built to target companies through their network. They are doing this through shares. If users are able to write to those files, the files on those devices will be targeted as well. The larger the net, the more likely an important file or group of files will be encrypted. The ACO ransomware is attacking business systems by scanning for systems on the network that have shares available. As stated earlier, shadow copies, backups, and recovery partitions are being targeted. By preventing these recovery methods, attackers are trying to make it more desirable for the company to pay. Despite all of these efforts, many companies still are not willing to pay. Because they're not willing to pay, ransomware developers are trying to be more nefarious in the way that they attack. On January 14th, the Nimty ransomware creators announced they would begin publishing information their ransomware download from infected devices if ransoms were not paid. They announced they would leak little by little to increase pressure on businesses. These data leaks can hurt the reputation of the business and lead to potential lawsuits, all of which can be devastating to the company and the employees who work there. In recent news on ZDNet.com, there was an article about a telemarketing company that had shut down due to ransomware. I agree. It's not devastating to lose a telemarketing group, but the employees who relied on this company for a living had a bad Christmas holiday because they were laid off. The attack started in October, and the company was not able to recover. As of January 2nd, they were not able to restore services, and those 300 workers who've been laid off were encouraged to look for employment elsewhere. There was no explanation on how or why they were unable to restore their files. Despite all these potential downsides, hope's not lost, and you can protect yourself, your data, and your wallet. First, do not run with administrator or power user privileges in your normal account. Create a second account to work as the administrator and log in with that non-administrative user. You can find a link in the description below. Ensure that your basic user does not have write access across files outside its user profile. You can find many ways to change permissions in your Windows system through a simple search using Google, Bing, or your favorite search engine. Next, periodically back up your data to an offline device. This could be an external USB drive or a RAID array that is not connected when you are not backing up your data. Users can also reduce the risk by being very selective in the sites that you go to. If users never go to the sites that host this software, they can't become infected. Lastly, you can protect yourself by using any of the antivirus or malware protection software out there on the web. Be sure to choose a reputable one. Many companies also offer something called data loss protection. Protecting yourself requires diligence in your actions, but even the most careful users can still make a mistake, so be sure to back up your data. Thank you for watching my video. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. If there's anything in particular that you'd like to hear about, please leave a comment below. In the upper right corner, you'll be able to find a video that I did on the alternatives to Windows 7 if you're still running Windows 7. If you're moving on from Windows 7, Windows 10, or even from a version of Linux, look down in the lower left corner and you'll find a video on how to make a bootable USB drive so that you can load any operating system of your choice. Let's work together to demystify tech.